Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Janice Lo. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Severe Typhoon Haikui heads for coastal Fujian and Guangdong provinces after leaving a trail of destruction in Taiwan. In Hong Kong, street cleaners are still busy removing fallen trees and debris from Super Typhoon Saola. And the Democratic Party cancels its fundraising banquet after 2 restaurants revoked reservations within days. We start the news with typhoon updates. The observatory says it will consider issuing the number 1 standby signal tomorrow after another storm approaches the region. Severe Typhoon Haikui is bound for Fujian and Guangdong later this week, after making landfall in Taiwan earlier today. Chloe Feng reports.
Surveillance footage at the scenic Sanshan Tai Island in eastern Taichung province offered a glimpse of Typhoon Haikui's destructive force. Packing gusts of 175 kilometers per hour, Haikui made landfall in the mountainous region this afternoon, becoming the first typhoon to directly strike Taiwan in 4 years. Waves as high as 3 meters kept crashing the shores of Chaojing Park in Keelung City throughout the day. In Yilan County south of Taipei, huge rocks rolled down the hill and landed onto roads below. Emergency workers were busy cleaning up so as to keep the roads open for essential services. Further south in Hualien County, a shelter at a parking lot toppled amid strong winds. Even inland regions were not spared. Motorists in Nantao County had to stop on the road as the conditions were too treacherous to continue their journeys. Authorities have suspended flights, rail transport and ferry services, along with classes and outdoor events. Thousands of residents have been evacuated. After meeting disaster management officials, the island's leader Tsai Ing-wen urged people to avoid going out or engaging in water sports. After lashing across southern Taiwan, Haikui is forecast to enter the Taiwan Strait tomorrow, before heading towards coastal Fujian and eastern Guangdong. It is expected to make another landfall near the 2 provinces on Tuesday, around 400 kilometers away from Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Observatory said it is considering issuing the standby signal number 1 tomorrow morning, after noticing Haikui is now within 800 kilometers of the SER. Under the influence of the typhoon's outer subsiding air, the agency warned of very hot conditions tomorrow. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
The Home Affairs Minister said that around 100 civil servants were deployed in the first ever government-wide mobilization to clean up debris across the city. But the Development Bureau warned people to be vigilant when out and about, as trees and other high-rise objects remain unstable following the departure of Super Typhoon Saola. Hong Kong may have escaped the brunt of Saola, but that doesn't mean the super typhoon didn't leave a trail of destruction across the city. With thousands of trees uprooted or fallen, workers have been busy cleaning up roads so as to keep traffic flowing in urban areas like Mong Kok. Pedestrians, however, still had to navigate debris scattering pavements. Some passers-by, including this man, even offered a helping hand to cleaners. But the sheer amount of fallen trees meant the operation was going to be a protracted battle. Some areas had to be temporarily cordoned off before someone could clear the debris. The Development Bureau called on the public to stay vigilant, as trees and construction sites may pose a threat to pedestrians after inclement weather. This was evident outside Customs headquarters in North Point, where a 13-meter tall tree was at risk of toppling. Part of the building structure was also damaged. No one was injured, and police sealed off the area to have the tree removed. Over in Tamar, mesh netting blown off the top floors of the Legislative Council building was left dangling on a lamppost on the ground. The legislative complex has been undergoing expansion works. A mongrel was injured when a retaining wall measuring 2 by 3 meters suddenly collapsed at a slope near Shagley Estate in Kwaichong. Part of the pavement was cordoned off after bricks rained down on the road. The first number 10 typhoon signal in 5 years also triggered the so-called government-wide mobilization, an initiative under Chief Executive John Lee's policy address last year. Under the protocol, civil servants from various departments would form quick response units to handle emergencies. Leading the operation was Home Affairs Minister Alice Mack, who revealed that around 100 government workers were deployed to tackle the aftermath of Saola. Financial Secretary Paul Chen said that slashing stamp duties on stock transactions will do little to boost the city's slumping financial markets. He blamed geopolitical tensions for hurting investor confidence in the region, but pledged to come up with solutions. Chloe Feng reports.
With China slashing stamp duty on stock trades by half last week, Hong Kong is under pressure to follow suit. That idea gained even further traction after the SAR government set up a task force to enhance stock market liquidity. But Financial Secretary Paul Chen put an end to all rumors today. In his weekly article, he noted the Hang Seng Index plunged 8% alone in August and admitted the situation was not ideal. But Chen argued that lowering stamp duty is not enough to boost transactions in the long run. Citing a similar scenario in the late 90s, he noted daily turnover fell from some $14 billion in 1997 to just $6 billion 5 years later, even though the stamp duty was lowered 3 times during the period. Instead, Chen blamed the geopolitical tensions for hurting the stock market, saying political preconceptions from the West had hurt investor confidence in Hong Kong. The SAR currently charges a levy of 0.26% for each trade, with the cost split between the buyer and the seller. The new rate, which took effect in 2021, had a little impact in the first few months. But daily turnover has since slowly declined to $115 billion in the first half of this year. That's 40% lower than 2021 and 16% down from a year ago. The city's stock stamp duty is the second highest among worldwide markets, trailing only the 0.5% in London. By comparison, mainland China only charges 0.05% per transaction. With the high stamp duty here to stay, Chen said there are still other ways to boost liquidity, and the task force will meet this week to discuss them. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
The Democratic Party said it was forced to cancel its fundraising banquet tomorrow after running into more venue trouble. The city's oldest opposition party initially planned to host 15 to 20 tables at the Marco Polo Hong Kong Hotel in Tsim Sha Tsui. But the hotel informed them last week that it was unable to provide the venue without specifying a reason. That prompted the party to switch to a Chinese restaurant at the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal. But this morning, the restaurant also said it had to carry out repairs for windows broken during the typhoon. The party now says the event won't be held in the near future. Chairman Loh Kin Hei believed both venues were under pressure by a third party to refuse their business, as it was extremely rare for restaurants to cancel banquet reservations. The party last held the annual gala in 2019 when more than 20 government officials showed up. Turning overseas, thousands of people attending the annual Burning Man Festival are stranded in the desert in the U.S. state of Nevada after a rainstorm turned the area into a giant mud pit. The large-scale event at Black Rock Desert descended into chaos after heavy rain lashed the usually very dry and dusty region. Police have reportedly launched an investigation into the death of a person during torrential rain, but there's no further details. While some people left the venue on foot, thousands remained stranded at the event and were told to seek shelter in safe places and conserve their food and water. The event organizers said the site was closed for the remainder of the event. The Burning Man Festival originated in San Francisco as a bonfire ritual on the summer solstice. The event attracts about 70,000 people each year. In an astonishing discovery, a surgeon in Australia pulled out a live worm from a woman's brain during surgery. The operation was performed last year, but scientific details of how the parasite actually got there are gradually emerging following exhaustive research.
I dissected around the abnormal area that you could see on the scan. I thought, gosh, that feels funny. You couldn't see anything more abnormal. And then I was able to really feel something separate. I took my tweezers or my tumour holding forceps and I pulled it out and I thought, gosh, what is that? It's moving, take it out of my hands. And we put it in a path pot, thank goodness.
This worm was 8 centimetres long. This was a new parasite that had never been seen in a human before. The patient involved in this had a protracted illness. It was a sort of mystery diagnosis. And then out of nowhere, this big lump appeared in the frontal part of her brain.
The worm was a larva of a roundworm found in carpet pythons, which are native to Australia. Scientists believe the woman most likely caught the roundworm after collecting a type of native grass near where she lives. Experts say the danger of diseases and infections jumping from animals to humans is more worrying. On to the weather now. Very hot tomorrow with temperatures ranging from 27 to 34 degrees. Becoming cloudy with isolated thunderstorms from midweek. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11:30. I'm Janice Lo. Thanks for watching. Good night.